The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to another edition of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Woldu. Great show this week. Pushing the panic button on many fronts, especially if you're Lloydminster Junior A Bobcats. We'll see what these guys have to say about that. The World Series baseball playoffs starting, and they get underway tonight with the Toronto Blue Jays in the wildcard game taking on Baltimore. Did the Jays make the right decision going with Marcus Stroman? We'll ask these guys about that. And speaking of these guys, let's start it off. My co-host, of course, Andrew Brethauer. I'm back. How are you, buddy? Missed me yet?
I think ratings were up last week. Pretty good spike, too. Maybe we should get rid of you.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's because I was watching, so that's why there was a big spike in that.
There you go.
That or my good friend Brett Morton was helping out too, so kind of counterbalanced you a little bit.
Counterbalance. No.
Yeah,
I actually get to speak now.
There you go. Well, guys, going to do plenty of talking on our show this week. Pleased to be joined by Lloyd Minor Hockey. You are the elite female director for the program. We're pleased to have Steve Hughes. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Actually, a little bit relieved. Finally got one of the clubs off and running in their league play. So it's been a bit of a challenge and lots of work, but we're really happy to see it get kicked off. So.
Well, that's good. And, of course, you have other programs that will be kicking off momentarily in about a week and a half time, right?
That's right. On the 15th of October, both the other clubs get involved with their league play, Midget AA Elite and the Junior Steelers, which is our Bantam AA Elite.
That's awesome. We'll definitely give them a quick little shout out later in the show. Let's talk about some hockey locally, but involving the Junior A Bobcats. After their showcase right now, they are sitting at 0-7. And this is a team that's looked a little bit better in their two games out there against Okotoks and Calgary in terms of the Mustangs. But overall, this is a team that is still winless. They talked about, putting on the pressure, talking about that panic button. Is it safe to say that button's been pushed? And should there be some concern heading into the next little stretch? They still got 3 games on the road, 2 against Fort Mac and, of course, Bonnyville.
Oh, their schedule's terrible. This 0-7 might just be the start. If you look at Fort Mac's a good team, Bonnyville's a good team. Those are your next 4 games. Then you got Spruce after that. Then you got Okotoks after that. Your possibility, and you hate saying it, but it's a possibility where in the next 13 games they might get 1, 2, maybe 2 victories. And even then, they didn't play well against Bonnyville. Fort Mac's a good team. Spruce is Spruce. So if you haven't hit it yet, you're getting kind of late. By the end of October, if you haven't started thinking about what to do with this team, it's getting too late.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that they don't panic in a way, because we all knew this was going to be a process. We all knew it was going to be rebuilding. Would you like to be 2-5 right now? Does it make people feel better? As long as they're playing good hockey, and I think if the coaching staff, led by Travis, I think they just have to stay the course. Those kids are going to get better and better. They're all new pretty much in that club room, when it comes to Junior A hockey. There's a lot of learning to do and a little bit of catch up. And, by November, some of those decisions they're making on the ice are not going to be happening, those mistakes. And so I think just stick with it. I know our fan base here in Lloydminster will. We realize that there's a change there, and people are still going to come watch because it's good hockey. Even if you're not winning, it's still pretty good hockey.
Steve, I want to play devil's advocate here. And yes, there are people who understand that this is a team that's virtually a midget hockey team, a midget AAA team. Because you look at 18-year-olds, there's 14 of them on the team that have had little to no experience at the Junior A level. And with that said, you have fans that, yes, understand, but yet at the same time are getting a little angry that, you're losing 5-1. You're losing 7-1. Yeah. You're not losing little margins here, you're like a mistake here. You're losing by big stretches. And then eventually you start hearing the crowd start getting on these Bobcats. Fair or not fair, you guys can decide on that. But I think there is a moment where you could say, okay, this is a rebuild, and okay, the last thing we want to do is get our butts whooped every single night, and that's a bad product at the end of the day. And I don't know if fans would like that.
Well, I don't think you want to accept it. I definitely don't think that's what's going on with their club and the management. They're not happy. There's no doubt about it. You can't be happy when you're not pulling off wins, and when performances are so lopsided like that. I totally agree. Seems like there's even a give up factor. But you can't focus on that. I think what's behind them is behind them. You just got to continue to get better. And yeah, that's cliche as hell for sure by saying stuff like that. But to be honest with you, they really don't have a lot of choice, because I mean, even if you take a look at trying to trade players and do things like that, I don't think that they're ready to do that. Maybe there's some tweaking to do. Maybe you can get another veteran, somebody that's going to help. But at the end of the day, I think stay the course, be positive about it all, and try to get some of those wins.
Very quickly, their next 3 games, we were just mentioning 2 against Fort Mac. They got 2 against Bonnyville, a home and home. Do you see them earning their first win in that stretch?
You hope. I honestly, no. I don't. Not with what I've seen so far on the ice, and it's a lot of figuring out. And it's not a negative, it's just reality. There's 24 new players, like no one's played with each other. You have to figure it out, and they have a lot of pieces. It's trying to maneuver those pieces, and now you're trying to do it in a regular season when things matter. That's a tough thing, and then having fans on top of you, and then people like us pointing that out. It's not a great situation. If they figure it out within the next couple games, start to at least get better, then you could say, okay, fine. But if by the end of this month, if you're 1-10, 1-13, then it's time to start moving some pieces out who aren't working, and maybe bring something else in.
Switching gears to baseball now, the Toronto Blue Jays finally snapping a wild card spot when it looked like they were sinking fast. Now, the good news is the postseason, it's a whole new ball game. And in a 1-game playoff, the Toronto Blue Jays manager John Gibbons has decided to give the ball to Marcus Stroman. Now, Stroman, in any other scenario, would be a good guy to have as your number 1. But in this case, where he struggled against the Baltimore Orioles, the guy hasn't really had the greatest stretch. And on top of that, you have a lefty in Francisco Liriano who's played pretty darn good and has had that postseason experience. He's not playing, Stroman is. Do you feel that is a bad move and the Jays could pay for that?
Well, I'm a little worried, quite honestly. When you look at statistical baseball, which is a lot of decisions are made statistical, and coaches, pitching coaches, all the rest, they make those decisions. And he's a left-hander that Baltimore struggles against left-handers. Statistics show that. They hammer right-handers, and we know where Stroman throws the ball. He throws it in the meat of the plate. He wants to be hit, put the ball in play. I'm a little worried, to be honest with you. You get a 1-game showdown, and you're not going statistical. You're kind of going with, okay, he's a great pitcher. He throws the ball hard, and he's ready. I'm a Blue Jays fan, and I want to see him do well tonight, but I'm a little worried about the matchup, yeah.
And when it's a 1-game, I like putting Stroman in for the fact of it's that fire he had last year in the postseason, but it's 1 game, and you've got to hope a lot of things. And we've talked about the Blue Jays where one thing goes wrong, the whole thing goes wrong. Their batting doesn't work. Now you're relying on a right-handed pitcher to play well against a team that statistically has been good against those types of pitchers. So
a lot of high risk, high reward in that case, right?
But that's the Blue Jays. Yeah. If you don't say they're not a high risk, high reward team, then I don't know what they are. They're that type of team, and you put the guy that you think is going to give you the best chance. If he's that guy and he's going to be the one that's going to fire up the team and get those bats working, then put Stroman on the mound.
You mentioned high risk, high reward. Does John Gibbons' job with the Toronto Blue Jays hinge on what happens tonight, and does he even get past this season?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like John Gibbons. I think John Gibbons is a player's coach. I think he's good to his guys. He sticks up for his guys and his decisions. He seems pretty calm. He keeps things loose, I think, in a lot of areas. But does this one kind of backfire on him? I think he's going a little bit sentimental tonight with Stroman. So I hope they win, and I hope it doesn't happen to him. I think he's a good manager, but I'm not sure what could happen.
Does he return, win or lose?
I say he does. You win or lose. You don't want to rock. You've just made the playoffs this second time, although this 1-game playoff. But do you really want to start rocking a boat when you're now reached that point of, okay, we're now a playoff contender. We're not toiling in the bottom of the AL East anymore. We're actually a legit playoff team. Now you just need to add pieces, and is it your manager you got to now change? Given he's not the reason why the Blue Jays are in this position. It's pitching, it's the hitting not working at certain times. Fix that first, and then if it doesn't work, then get rid of them in 2 years, but not after this year.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to talk about the World Cup of Hockey and get their thoughts if they thought it was a success or not. Coming up.